easily put Memphis up.
Yeah, Memphis. Yeah, after beating UCLA, Memphis should have been in the top 25.
I'm surprised that Memphis isn't getting the love that it really should.
Well, they have a loss, and they're a group of 5 school.
Yeah. It's nice to see Iowa State in there. They deserve to be in there. I would, right now, don't expect, especially UCF, don't expect them to say that they're going to climb.
I don't know. Here's why.
Their defense to offense, it's such a gap. They're holding teams very well to low points, but they're scoring a very large number. And when you have that difference gap, that can be the world to a team.
Here's why I agree that they should be higher, but we have very recent history. I mean, Western Michigan never got any higher than 15, and they were undefeated. Mm-hmm. They were blowing teams out and holding teams to very little points as well. And they have a player who's in the NFL right now, Corey Davis, who was a first-round draft pick. So, just like how Supreme Court justices use, prior cases, I'm looking at Western Michigan as the reason why Central Florida isn't moving up. Why South Florida isn't, I don't understand. Because they started the team ranked, they had a Heisman candidate, and they were a very good team last year. So why they're not in the top 10 already while they're undefeated, I just don't understand that. Yeah, but
it's difficult. But I mean,
the schedule.
They have, it is the strength of schedule. But if you look at, they just beat Navy was 25 coming into this week, were they not? Or did they just bounce out last
I think they were just bounced out.
Okay, but either way, Navy was a solid team. They beat Memphis 40-13. Memphis is a good team. They're not a slouch. It's just the other team. They beat Maryland 38-10.
Maryland was better in the beginning of the season than they are right now.
Don't get me wrong. There's also other ones where it's like, okay, you beat Cincinnati. Cool for you.
Yeah, how badly did they beat Cincinnati?
51-23.
They beat them better than Michigan beat them.
And then they also have another game later against Georgia Tech this week.
Speaking of Michigan, I like to note that they're out of the top 25, and Nate's probably crying.
Hey, Nate, if you're listening, do know that we named this episode after your misery. And the poem was also dedicated to you.
Yeah, so if you didn't hear that, you need to go back and hear that.
Yeah, all right. All right, so any more on the NCAA Top 25? Any gripes? Do we? Honestly, I think Miami is too high on there as well.
I can agree with that. They haven't played
close win against Georgia Tech, close win against Syracuse.
And that's the concerning part about that, is they're close wins to teams that aren't that great, or not that good, to be honest.
And their hype coming into this, they're not living up to.
Well, Syracuse being the number 2 team in the nation, that's the argument a lot of people are going to use.
Yeah, but that's a fine argument. They're getting credit right now because they're in the ACC and they're undefeated. That's where they're getting their credit for.
That and also that prestige.
Well, yeah, Miami's name is always going to hold a significant amount of weight. Obviously, teams' names can hold weight, but if you don't win, you're Michigan, and you're out. Peace. See you later. Try again next year.
Yeah, but next time Michigan beats an absolutely horrible team, they're going to be in again.
Probably. Because it's Michigan, and that name will put you in.
Wow, congratulations, Michigan. You beat Rutgers by 6. You're back in the top 25.
24!
7!
Yeah, right? You might be in playoff contention.
You'll leapfrog Bama.
We'll see how it goes. Who knows?
All right. So we are going to move on from the top 25. And remember, I messaged you guys earlier saying, come up with a few things. I want your playoff teams. I want who wins the championship. And I want the coach of the year. And I want the Heisman winner. It seems like we pretty much all agree as Dan O'Shea is walking away because he is obviously offended at something we said. Have a good night, Dan.
You guys as well.
Touché, sir.
All right. So, Heisman, Saquon Barkley. Anyone disagree? No. Coach of the year. Who do you think is going to win Coach of the Year?
For
me, it's a no-brainer. It's Kirby Smart in Georgia.
Yeah.
He's got it.
how they finish out the season for shock value, I wouldn't be against Matt Campbell at Iowa State.
That's a good point.
Nobody really saw that coming, and if they can finish strong, I mean, they had a solid season. So I could give it to him, but I do like the Kirby Smart pick. I was high on Georgia when the season started. I know certainly there were people in this room that were not.
You looking at me?
Yes.
Yes. I was high. I said they were a 2-loss. I said they were a 2-loss team.
Okay, well.
And one of those losses was in the SEC championship game.
Right, and that's still.
I had them losing to Florida and then losing to Alabama.
Which we're gonna find out if they lose to Florida this weekend. So.
Yep. All right. So, let's see. What about you, Chuckles? Do you have a Coach of the Year candidate? I mean, you can go James Franklin. He can go back to back. I'd be fine with that.
I could see that. I mean, I would hate to see it to be Saban, but
it's never going to be Saban.
No, I feel like they're like, no, you.
If he doesn't go undefeated and win every game by 40, he's not going to win Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I don't know. I do like the Kirby Smart pick. That was a good one. I didn't think of.
The only other name that really came to mind.
Oh, and he's back. Oh,
he's not going nowhere without them keys. Is Mark Richt from Miami? Depending on how they finish the season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think Kirby Smart should beat him out.
Gary Patterson at TCU is also a good choice. Supposedly, what's his name at Notre Dame? Brian Kelly. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
I disagree with it.
Yeah.
I guess it really comes down to the next few weeks.
Greg Gattuso at University of Albany. Go Danes.
Yeah. I'll be daring to say Brian Kelly.
Huh.
I mean, I could see it being possible. I can't route it off. I don't agree with it, and I don't think he should be the Coach of the Year. But I could see him being given it because
of how bad they were last year.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, how much just crap he had to get dealt his way for his performances recently to finally being able to just shut people up and be like, all right, there you go.
They're also no longer paying Charlie Weiss.
Well, yeah.
As of this season. Excuse me.
If Ohio State gets by Penn State, could it be Urban Meyer?
I don't think so.
I
feel like they'd give it to Lincoln Riley before they gave it to Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer's one of those ones who's not going to get it very often. I mean, he's going to have the loss of Oklahoma at Oklahoma. If they had gone undefeated, maybe you'd have the argument, but that loss keeps him out of it.
Again, he has to go undefeated and win.
He's on the same level with Saban, expected to win every single game of the season. That's what they're going for. That's the goal every year. It just is what it is.
Yeah. So you got anyone, Chuckles?
I mean, you know what? I want to see Kelly do it.
No!
Yeah.
No!
Brian Kelly.
No!
Hey, maybe this is the time that Notre Dame starts living up to the name.
Hopefully the no part.
Yeah.
All right,
We tried, but dang.
Yeah. So the playoffs. This is never going to happen, but this is the way I see it playing out. If the way I figure, number 1 Georgia, because they're going to leapfrog Penn State when they beat Alabama. Mm-hmm. Number 2 Penn State. Number 3 Alabama. Number 4 Ohio State. Who do I have playing in the national championship? Penn State and Ohio State.
Matchup of this week. Yeah.
Really? That's an interesting way to break that
If
down.
If TCU loses,
Miami loses. Notre Dame falls.
And Notre Dame falls.
It could shake out that way.
I guarantee a 2-loss Ohio State would get in before a 1-loss TCU. It's happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's true.
I guarantee it. But I think I'm changing my mind. Georgia's going to beat Alabama. Georgia will beat Alabama this season. That's a fact, in my opinion. I think Penn State beats Alabama. I think
I could see that.
I think Ohio State beats Georgia. That gives us a rematch. Penn State versus Ohio State. I think Penn State wins the national championship.
Okay.
I want to see a Georgia-Penn State final.
Maybe Penn State, Alabama there.
No, he's got Penn State, Alabama. Alabama goes undefeated through the season, and they're the number 1 seed.
I think also,
I
depending
think-
how the rest of the season plays out and how they play, I think Oklahoma can make a run.
I don't think so.
You know?
They'd have to make a big push at this point. They're playing too many close games right now.
They lost. Yeah, they lost to Iowa State. It's not like they have a good loss. They have a bad loss.
I don't think Alabama could beat Penn State, though. I think Penn State's
That's true. You do have a bad loss.
Yeah. Plus, I think Oklahoma State's going to beat Oklahoma anyways. So
Politics aside, I mean, you got to consider Penn State as probably number one in the country right now.
I mean, I can't put Penn State at number one simply because Alabama's been number one and they haven't lost.
So let's say these top four stay the top four for next week and become the first of the playoffs.
Okay.
Um,
Alabama smokes TCU.
yeah, but the question is how. And I think they were talking about this last year. I think the most they've ever had from the first week to ever still move on to the actual playoff was 3, and that's only happened once. So what 2 teams don't make it? If that's the case.
I think most likely it would be Georgia and TCU. Because I think Penn State beats Ohio State, then they beat Michigan State, and then it's pretty much smooth sailing. I think they're much better than Wisconsin, so I think that puts them in at undefeated.
See, I would have taken out TCU and Alabama.
You would have taken out TCU and Alabama?
Yeah, I do think Georgia's a very big powerhouse right now.
Okay. Yeah, so
I think Alabama's been consistent, but they're vulnerable.
could you imagine how pissed off the ACC, Big 12, and Pac 12 would be if you got 2 Big 10 and 2 SEC teams in?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But they're the only conferences deserving.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I like your breakdown, but I'm gonna try and be. I guess I'm gonna be as realistic as I possibly can try and fathom it. Alabama, Ohio State, Penn State, Clemson wins the ACC.
I still don't think it's going to be Clemson. I think Virginia Tech's going to get them.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I'm just saying. Well, the problem I have with Clemson is their injury situation right now,
And also, they have a really bad loss.
decimating them. Yeah, but I mean, if they win out, they would have to win the ACC at that point, and I mean, that could be enough to vault them. Because I think TCU is going to falter somewhere. I don't think Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's going to lose to whoever wins this game this weekend. As far as that's concerned.
In the Big Ten Championship?
Yeah. So I think Wisconsin, because, I mean, other than that, really, who has Wisconsin played this year?
I mean, there are a couple of things that you've also got to factor in to this Penn State-Ohio State game. If Ohio State wins, let's say they win by 3, and then let's say Michigan beats Ohio State by 3, Penn State wins the Big Ten East because they've got the largest margin of victory with a 29-point victory over Michigan.
Yep.
So there's also the points that come into play there.
That's
Because
probably why Michigan dropped out of the top 20.
You know what? I'm going to agree with your championship.
crazy, right?
I
To
think
have
Ohio
two-
State will play Penn State again in a rematch for the national title.
How, like, people want that. People would want to see that.
Depending on how good of a game this is, if it's actually a good game, obviously a lot still needs to be decided, and a lot of this hinges on can hinge on the outcome and how well this game is played. Because if it's a blowout, it changes the argument.
Yeah, like if Penn State does to them what they did to Michigan or vice versa, then
It can change the dynamic of what we're talking about.
well, I think Penn State being Ohio State is much more of a problem than if Ohio State beats Penn State.
Yes, because if Ohio State beats Penn State, now there's the real argument. Okay, Ohio State goes into the Big Ten Championship. They knock off Wisconsin. Can you say that Penn State, with their only loss being to Ohio State, isn't deserving to play for the best 4 teams in the country?
If Ohio State beats Penn State, where do they fall next week? Where do they go in?
If Ohio State beats Penn State drops out of the top 10, I'm sure.
Does
The
Ohio
committee
State move into the top
hates-
4?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt at that point. Yeah, 'cause
Penn
you knock
State will
off
jump
the 2 teams in the
TCU.
country.
And Penn State, for whatever reason, playoff committee and the AP
I don't know
hate
that
Penn
you'll come
State.
out of the top 10. I think they'll keep you around 7 or 8.
Maybe.
That's where you deserve to be. You should be ahead of Clemson.
Despite the fact that a couple years ago, when LSU and Alabama played, and LSU was 1, Alabama was 2, and LSU beat Alabama stayed at 2.
Yeah.
Bogus.
Yeah, that was. I remember that.
Yeah, that's...
And that was a 9-6 game.